the amount of product moving through the direct market is basically the same as it was like 20 years ago. Like just units of comics, it's the same.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Dal, being that we are a comic book business, retail, comic podcast thing about the business of selling comical things in Chicago on the Yak Channel Podcast Network, it would go without saying...
It's amazing that you get it word for word every week. Like, that you don't vary it up at all. That you do that whole thing
identical.
Exactly like that every single episode.
Well, it's... the secret's out.
It's the damnedest thing.
It's a tattoo on my arm. I just read it.
Thing.
So, it goes without saying, which is a dumb thing to say on a podcast, because that's all we do is say things.
Say it.
That we have all types of anecdotes and stories and things about just being in the store this week, extra for me, because I was in the store extra for this week.
It's true.
And I got things to say.
Oh, okay.
But I tell you what, the comics industry sure did give today. Boy, do we have a topic.
I guess.
Did you not think that there'd be something that we would dive into, both feet?
I don't know that I 100% remember what this is, so maybe.
Today is June 1st as we're recording it.
Yes, my aunt's birthday. I called her today to wish her happy birthday.
And did you get her or just a machine?
I called her cell phone because that's what I usually do. But then I remembered that she's turning 74 today, maybe?
I thought you were going to say Japanese. I really thought so.
So I realized that she probably does not check her cell phone as much as everyone else does, so I called her home phone and got her on the second ring.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Home phones and everything.
Yeah, landlines.
Well, landlines are the past.
Okay.
We're discussing the future. Comixology Originals is Amazon's boldest move yet to crack open the comics market. Amazon's Comixology subsidiary is launching a new line of creator-owned titles June 1st, 2018.
Yes, it's today.
Have you heard that?
I did.
I read quite a thorough article on Forbes about it.
I read about it on, I want to say, The Beat, probably. They had the press release, Chip Mosier and David Steinberger.
You forgot to say your best friend, Chip Mosier.
It's true. Challenger's friend, Chip Mosier.
So I thought that we would immediately talk about that, seeing as how it is selling comics without the actual comics part.
Okay.
And it is a direct competition to our business.
Okay.
You disagree?
I want to hear your take on it.
Well, I mean, I'm not worried.
Mm-hmm.
Not that is the first question people would ask. There are some, I think, deliberately incendiary quotes in this article.
Sure.
As Dal can see, I printed out the entire thing.
Good.
Now,
nice.
I certainly don't plan to read it.
Okay.
But I wanted to be able to refer to it and make sure I was getting my facts straight.
Sure.
Whilst we discuss it. And basically...
Boy, let me tell you, the last thing you want to do with Comixology is talk about them and not get your facts right, because that will come back to bite you.
That will merit me a phone call, at the very least. I completely understand their desire to have their own line and to publish their own properties.
Sure.
And it's...
If anything, they are one of the last people on Comixology to do Comixology original content.
Yeah, right?
Any number of publishers have announced digital first or Comixology first projects. Valiant High that came out this week from Valiant was, I believe, a Comixology first project.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is... And on the other hand, the idea of kind of vertical integration of a distributor creating content that they're distributing is not new in entertainment. I today got an email from MoviePass reminding me to go out and see the new film. What is it called? You can open up the app and it'll, I'm sure, tell me exactly
Upgrade?
what it is. Not Upgrade.
It's too bad, because Upgrade was
American
fantastic.
Animals. which is a movie that...
I'm sorry, I'll say it again.
It's called American Animals. Stars Josh Radnor from the TV show you used to watch.
That one where he's the drama teacher?
Yeah, drama.
I thought
It's called drama, right? Friday Night Drama.
Rise? Lift? What was it called?
Who knows or cares?
I think
Anyway,
it's canceled already.
the point is, MoviePass is telling me about American Animals because they bought American Animals at a film festival sometime back.
I'm sorry, MoviePass bought it?
MoviePass bought it. MoviePass
Wow.
is distributing it, so MoviePass is telling you go out to theaters to go see it.
Literally the first time I've heard of this movie.
Right, because it's not on anyone's radar besides MoviePass. And again, like there have been other things in entertainment where, Apple is creating content to play on their various apps and channels and stuff. So, on just a baseline level, this concept is not new.
No, not at all. For years, people have... You know what? I'm gonna get to that specific paragraph because I really enjoyed it. Are you ready?
Yes, and depending on how you read it, I may ask you to reread it in a different voice.
Okay. Now I was going to do a funny voice.
Can I pick? I have a voice in mind that I want to hear you read it.
All right, go ahead.
To see if you can do it in that voice.
Oh, jeez.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. You can take a moment.
Brother, let me tell you something about publishing comics digitally.
This is from the Vice President of Public Relations and Marketing, Dusty Rhodes from Comixology,
That
a
would
subsidiary
be
of Amazon.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Thank you very much. Aspects of this vision are likely to raise concerns in parts of the comics business that don't welcome disruption and, nearly a decade on, still barely tolerate the concept of digital comics, much less the looming presence of Amazon in publishing and retail. With today's announcement, some publishers might be feeling hot breath on their necks as Amazon further closes the gap between creators and the audience, blurring the line between an agnostic distribution platform and a direct competitor to imprints specializing in creator-owned content.
He's very good at what he does, I gotta tell you. I mean, a lot of people in marketing, especially in comics, have a tough time really communicating their message effectively. And
Dusty Rhodes stays on point.
this is what you do when you get that Amazon money, is you reach out to the best in the business. The talkers out there, the people who can take a concept, take a message, and not just convey it, but sell it. And Dusty Rhodes can do it, obviously.
I mean, there's a difference between Dusty Rhodes telling you what's happening in a way that makes you want to pay money to see it,
Right.
and somebody else just reading a press release.
Sure, yeah.
But I do have to ask, did you get any of that?
Yeah, I want to say I got the majority of it.
All right.
I mean, the gist of it is basically hey, this might seem weird to some people.
It's just some publishers might be feeling hot breath on their necks as Amazon further closes the gap between creators and their audience, blurring the lines between being an agnostic distribution platform and a direct competitor imprint specializing in creator-owned content. I mean, that is written to push buttons.
This is the Forbes.
Yeah,
writer?
this is not.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is not Chip Mosher or anybody else.
right. There are no quotes in that.
Okay, good. Because otherwise that would feel incredibly inflammatory.
Aspects of this vision are likely to raise concerns in parts of the comics business that don't welcome disruption. That sounds like retailers.
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, if you were
still barely tolerate the concept of digital comics, publishers absolutely tolerate digital comics.
the way I read that, the threat there is not to comic shops, because honestly, when I read this announcement today, I didn't think it was a big deal because Comixology is a parallel market. I don't think we're going to lose sales to those books. And parenthetically, I don't think the books are that great. I think there's some interesting stuff in there, but
I mean, spoiler alert, that was my whole takeaway.
Yeah, nothing that I looked at where I'm like, I wish we'd get to sell that. There's definitely some fun creators and some other people coming up that are doing that could be involved in a way where I would be interested as a fan.
You mean Tyler Crook, Christian Donaldson, Alti Firm, and
clearly not that person.
Sam Humphries?
Nope.
Mike Norton?
Mike Norton isn't listed there.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Tim Seeley?
Sure.
C. Spike Trotman, Jen Vaughn, Magdalene Visaggio.
Yeah, a lot of these people are people who have already worked in digital comics in some way. It's not surprising that Comixology would reach out to them. They're proven names. They know how to put projects together. They've worked with a lot of publishers and in a lot of different genres.
They're a test and learn type of company.
Well, I mean, that's something.
That's a quote.
That's something we'll get to in a moment because I do want to talk about that as well. So I don't look at this as like they're taking money out of our pockets. Frankly, the market is so stuffed with content right now. I would probably groan more than I would cheer if someone as big as Comixology is like, we got 6 new books coming out. Like, where are they going to go? Who's going to buy them? So if Comixology wants to try this sort of thing, that's fine, especially because this feels like way more of a trial balloon than a specific roadmap. Like, it doesn't strike me as something where this is a guaranteed surefire hit that's got multiple stages and steps that's going to result in them being a much bigger, more profitable, more effective company. If anything, it looks like, and Chip Mosier mentions it, at least in the stuff I read on The Beat, they're just trying this out. Or maybe David Steinberger did.
Dave Steinberger.
Yeah, he mentioned it as this is something Amazon likes to do, is basically kind of, drop a pebble in the pond and see what happens. That's not a quote of his, but it's that concept of, I don't know, let's see where this goes, because Amazon, spoiler, has a ton of money and can afford to do a project like this and just to see if it goes. Maybe binging comics is something people want. So the idea of releasing every issue or first 5 issues of Super Freaks on one day is huge, and it's going to change the way the comics are published digitally.
Well, I mean, binging comics is absolutely the way people want it.
But specifically, they mentioned that project as a part of this, where they're releasing that one, all 5 in one day, as opposed to other stuff that's an issue a month, to see what happens. If people will snap that up in a way that it makes investing in that sort of model more reliable, or if it doesn't matter, so doing things monthly is how people are already consuming it, so just keep that model going.
I would like to point out that, and this is the danger of having a plan for a conversation and not telling the other person who's involved in the conversation, that I was trying to build this up into a bigger deal just to be able to, at the end of it, dismiss it and be like, no, that's fine, good luck.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, but
no,
yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
I genuinely, I was not expecting us to talk about this because it feels so tangential to what we do. It's interesting on a fan level of...
It's taking money out of our pockets.
It's definitely not. I'm sure there are people on Facebook
Doubt.
retailer groups that are furious about it, but if anyone should be furious, it's the publishers. They're already working with Comixology because they're the ones who are competing with Comixology on this.
How many customers are we going to lose to the new Elephant Men series?
Lose? Well, I mean, there's definitely at least 2 people in the store who would have bought it from us. So I guess we're losing those 2, but they still shop with us? Just not for Elephant Men?
Yeah, I mean, we're not losing anything because it's not like we offered to them and they'd say no.
There's none of these comics that existed previously that are now digital only. So we're not, again, technically losing anything.
Wait, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I don't think there's any of these books that were print comics that are becoming digital only.
Elephant Man.
Right, but I mean, this is a different series, so it's not saying that there will never be Elephant Men print comics, just that this one in particular is digital.
Oh, well, I mean, Elephant Man ended.
Yeah, so, all right.
What I think is neat for the creators...
I guess, to be clear, what I'm saying is it's not like Saga was a print comic, and then they went, okay, now the only way to finish the story is to read it digitally. Okay. So we don't lose anything in any other scenario.
What I think is neat for the creators is that this is entirely creator-owned. It's like a Vertigo or an Image.
That's great.
Where this is all them. And the neat thing is we expect to be showing these works to folks around Amazon. That means Amazon Studios, Amazon Games, and other divisions of the company hungry for original content.
Sure.
We're open to all kinds of deals.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons you take a creator-owned project to a specific house is what can they do with this beyond publish it? And certainly, just on a baseline level, Amazon and Comixology specifically are doing a lot of promotion for this. I mean, this is an article in Forbes. There's a lot of people who are reading Forbes that aren't necessarily comic fans, but they might hear about some of these projects in a very long article and go, oh, that sounds like something I might want to read. And again, this is the reason why Comixology... publishers on Comixology are probably feeling that hot breath on their neck. These are works that Comixology is way more likely to promote than anything else. This is stuff that they have a piece of. Obviously, it's creator-owned, but the more successful it is, the more they can spin it off to other parts of Amazon, the better it's going to be for them. So it's way more effective for them to promote Super Freaks or Elephant Men than it is for them to try and promote, a DC project or Marvel project or, any other publisher or Valiant project that's being distributed on Comixology.
Here are 2 more paragraphs. It's going to sound like I'm quoting, but I'm reading it. Mm-hmm. None of these are quotes.
These are from the Forbes. Right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And this goes directly after the quote Dusty Rhodes said before.
Mm-hmm. Dusty Rhodes, who obviously we could edit this out, but I want to make it clear. Dusty Rhodes is not the executive vice president of marketing or public relations for Comixology. He is, in fact, a staff writer at Forbes. I should have gotten that right. Dusty Rhodes, The American Dream, currently writes for entertainment and publishing news for Forbes.
I made a step up from when he was at Vice. Mosher dismisses these concerns, observing how many A-list creators are sitting on great projects that can't find a home elsewhere in the industry, or else rely on the risky path of crowdfunding and self-publishing. That's because, get ready, comic book shops,
hey, that's us,
which place orders from the distributor months in advance on a non-returnable basis, rarely have the luxury to experiment on material that is not guaranteed to appeal to superhero fans. If retailers don't order, publishers won't publish, and unconventional material that might appeal to a larger audience is left without a path to market.
Sure. So, to quote Reverend Lovejoy, short answer, yes with a but. Long answer, no with an if.
Short answer, yes with a but. I've never tried that before.
Okay. Actually, I think I got it backwards. I think it's yes with an if, no with a but. So, the short answer is, yeah, that's true. Comic shops as a whole are reluctant to support material that is not a guaranteed sale. That's how the industry has been set up for the last few decades.
It's guaranteed superhero sale.
Well,
you forgot.
I was going to say.
Okay, sorry.
And traditionally that's turned out to be superhero stuff. Not always. Obviously there's exceptions, and those exceptions are growing as time goes on. But for a lot of shops, their market, either what's been dictated to them by their customers or what they've cultivated by years of specific ordering practices and stocking levels, is superhero. So when they see non-superhero stuff coming in through the catalogs, they are less likely to support that. I don't want to do a hashtag not all comic shops, but you look at the monthly sales numbers, there's no other thing you can discern other than it's superhero driven. Yeah, absolutely. That said, some of that is, we've talked about it a ton. It's not a, publishers are creating this great material and comic shops are folding their arms and saying no. Some of it is publishers not necessarily creating that material at a high enough level of quality where that's something that stores can take advantage of. The bigger problem is promotion. There's a lot of companies that are creating interesting content, good content, but if you're just putting it out to market in the comic shop and hoping that'll be the answer, it's not.
Hey, occasionally a publisher like Marvel will come to us and say, look, Infinity War's Prelude, you have to order big. Mm-hmm. No, you have to order big. You're not going to want to be left short.
How are stores going to be able to take a chance on a superhero project like that? One of the big advantages for a lot of the creators involved in this, again, is that Amazon has a lot of money to put into an initiative like this. They can promote it. They can help steer people. They have data on everybody, so they can absolutely steer people towards projects.
What, like me? Like
everybody?
What did I do?
Everything you've ever bought or looked at or didn't buy or bought for someone as a gift, all of that stuff. How long you looked at something, how many times you went back to look for it. These are all how Amazon achieved superiority in the market, is being able to understand how people buy things and what they buy and making sure that they buy more of things. So all of that muscle being turned towards these comic projects is huge. No publisher that I can think of has that ability. So no publisher can create that kind of promotional lift for new projects. So yeah, I don't disagree with the concept that these books would be less likely to find success in the comics market, but I would disagree with the idea that comic shops are reluctant to order stuff that is not superheroes, ergo these projects would fail. There is a huge amount of stuff in that ergo that goes unnoticed by the writer of this shorter article at Forbes.
Well, that zero-sum logic may make sense for each individual store, but it has held down market growth overall. Comics publishing has essentially been flat for the past few years, despite the enormous footprint of the comics culture in the rest of the entertainment and media universe.
Also true.
And a burgeoning audience of younger readers who look for content online rather than in comic shops.
That's also true. Somebody, John Jackson Miller or somebody, had done a look where they basically pointed out that the amount of product moving through the direct market is basically the same as it was, I can't remember what, like 20 years ago. Like just units of comics, it's the same. And that's despite what's now almost 2 decades of hit superhero films and like at least 5 years of hit superhero TV shows and any number of, video games, Broadway plays, whatever, podcasts, I don't know.
That's interesting, considering there's so many less people buying comics now compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, when that data was put out, I think a week ago, maybe more, Heidi at the Beat, I think, or somebody, Todd Allen maybe, had pointed out, like, there's kind of 2 ways to look at that. One is, holy shit, with all of this larger cultural stuff for superheroes and comic books, how is it not gone up? But on the other hand, it's like, hey, it's like the one market that hasn't been completely eviscerated in the last 20 years. TV ratings are down. Less people go to the movies. Less people buy books. Newspapers will basically cease to exist soon. How many, record stores and CD stores and all, like the idea of the CD store in general doesn't exist. The CD as a concept is almost completely gone. So the fact that it's flat is like, man, kudos. How did you do that?
When anybody comes in and talks about, I bet comics doing great now because of all the movies, the analogy I use is say, all right, so you think that, but how many times have you gone to see a movie that was based off of a book and then said, I gotta read that book? You don't.
Yeah.
You're happy to engage with the medium that you discovered the property with.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it can work in that manner. Usually what we've always found is that it's during like the build up to a movie, the hype for it, the trailers, the teasers, all that stuff makes people go, I have no idea what that is. I want to know more about that right now, and I can't go see this movie, so let me buy this book or this graphic novel.
I mean, it's a thing.
And then when the movie comes out, you've seen the movie, it's done.
When a property is announced, not just something has been optioned, but when something is coming out, we like to put on the front tables a representation of that. Like when they announced a casting for Umbrella Academy, we put Umbrella Academy on the table.
Right. And when Jessica Jones was coming out as a TV show, here's the Jessica Jones graphic novel.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do that for every season or anything like that. Like, we don't have a Luke Cage display right now. But we're not opposed to doing
Black Panther, like, around the holidays when Black Panther was really sort of building up steam and people were getting excited about it for February, we made sure that there were Black Panther graphic novels, the Ta-Nehisi Coates Volume 1 right there.
There was a dad who was in yesterday looking to buy some comics for his 12-year-old. Mm-hmm. And I was going through a bunch of things, and he'd brought up some Captain America graphic novels, and it's the same question we get from newer readers all the time. And even a guy today brings up 2 Deadpool Volume 1s and says, what's the difference? And it was the Daniel Way or the Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn volumes he chose. Yeah. Of course, I had him to get Daniel Way.
I usually point out the Daniel Way one mostly because it's where the current version of Deadpool really solidified.
And it's so funny.
It is, but it's mostly just that, like, you could read the classic stuff, but if you read, this is the version that you're familiar with from movies and video games and all that stuff.
So he had brought up the Adventures of Captain America, the Kevin Maguire book.
The Kevin West one.
Yeah. And on the inside front cover, it listed all of the volumes of the Rick Remender series, because that must have been out at the time.
Okay. Not that many.
And he's like, so, like, are these all part of that? And I'm like, no, not at all. This is a retelling of his origin from World War II moving forward. So what are these? You don't want to know.
Things you could buy if you wanted to.
You don't want to know. And then he brought up, even better, he brought up the Nick Spencer Volume 1.
Okay.
I'm like, hey man, for a 12-year-old kid just getting into Captain America, let's not do this one.
Yeah, I suppose not.
Let's go a different direction. Go with that, the Adventures of Captain America. That one's great. And then I'd said, does he watch anything else?
Or like some of the Mark Waid stuff.
I wanted to give him a couple of single issues. Like, I gave him a DC Nation, like, hey, have him try this out. But I also wanted him to, like, I want to give him Avengers #1. We don't have it.
Yeah, unfortunately, despite ordering a ton, we sold out, and the second print is out in like a week or so, I think.
And then I had said, hey, you should, here, like, try this Black Panther. It's a new #1. Yeah, you know, I heard somewhere that Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to be writing that. Well, this is his.
Now?
This is his. Oh, is it really? Yeah. Yep. And he's been writing it for a couple years now.
This is like his 25th issue.
But start with this; it'll be good. But yeah, it's very. We're such an insular industry where it's nigh impenetrable.
There's been complaints for years about how Marvel does their trade program.
That's why they do Epic collections.
Not only the stuff you mentioned where there's multiple volume ones, which why you need 5 volume ones, it's unnecessarily confusing. Even when you point out to people, hey, that's just 5 different starting points. They don't understand 5 different starting points. One, what is the starting point? The starting point, not a starting point. But also just how when they do movies, they just flood the market. Instead of picking one book and saying, like, hey, if you're excited about the Venom movie, this is the book. Instead they say, hey, would you like 35 years of Venom comics? Here you go. Here they all are.
Yep.
Enjoy.
One of the things I almost thought of doing for this episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network.
Oh, you're doing the abbreviated version.
That's right.
That's fine.
Was, especially since I haven't looked through previews yet, to go through the DC and Marvel previews, like not page by page, but like quickly, and just to get my first reactions. But I already read the Marvel previews at the store.
Okay.
Because I wanted it to be authentic, and I want people to experience what you have to listen to every time, because you have to understand that. I usually, when I have the time, read previews the day we get it. Dal has already read it via text file
twice.
The week before and edited it down. So every time I go, oh man, because I'm usually sitting in the front windows.
They're doing this thing,
and I from across the store, I'll yell at Dal like, what is this? And it's a thing he has already known about for days.
It's been on our website.
Maybe not necessarily, but
almost always. By the Tuesday that the previews comes out, it is already up on our website. But anyway, I didn't bring those. Okay.
I don't know if that's something people would care to listen to. I mean, it's like how Brian Hibbs offers to let publishers sit in on their ordering meetings.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you should do it as like a YouTube thing. The facial expressions of your. Or
then it would be an hour of eye rolls.
That stuff goes viral. People like that.
With an occasional, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm excited for that. Neat. But yeah, I did not do that. One last quote is, not a quote, one last line. According to Mosier, those elusive first-time readers and non-traditional comic fans are the main target for the Comixology original program.
Yeah, it feels like it.
I mean, good luck. If they're non-traditional comic fans,
some of the names specifically that they reached out to, not only for the first batch of projects, but for some of the later stuff, are people who are great at getting the word out online and have fans that want to support them but aren't necessarily going to go to comic shops to do it.
Yes, but if they're already fans of those people, they're not first-timers, really.
No, but those fans will let other fans know. And there's a good kind of word-of-mouth program that you can get through some of those creators. But again, like you said, good luck. Every single publisher realistically is trying to get all of the people who are not buying their products to be buying their products and have not seen a lot of success yet. So, for the creators involved, I hope this is a success. I don't look at it as necessarily a competition to what we're doing and those creators' books. Amazon's probably right, or Comixology's probably right. I don't know that these books would have existed without them, so I hope that they're a good investment for Comixology and a success for the creators involved and enjoyable for the fans that find them.
We've always wondered what Comixology sales are actually like. We can get
nobody knows
sales figures from Diamond, but we're always curious as to how books sell and, more importantly, where books sell.
Yeah.
If they're selling in areas that aren't represented by a comic shop, or if they are in urban areas, like if Chicago's a huge market.
It would mean something different if the bulk of sales are like New York, LA, Chicago, when there are a ton of comic shops in those areas, as opposed to we sell a ton of books in Montana. Like, okay, well, there's probably not a lot of stores in Montana.
But knowing that Amazon is going to... I know these are creator-owned, but there's no middlemen for this. They might be able to make a better profit than, like, a Diamond would. However, I really don't expect these sales figures to be huge at all.
Again, nothing really in the initial batch of books that they're putting out struck me as something where it's like, God damn, I wish we could sell that. They're all things where it's like, we would probably carry some of those books. Not a huge amount of copies, and nothing we would have, like, the utmost confidence in, but, like, I would want to support some of those projects.
The first time we said, oh man, I really wish we could sell this to a property that was unavailable to us, was Private Eye.
Yeah, and it eventually came out. We sold a bunch of it.
And then it was Barrier.
And we're selling a bunch of Barrier,
Yeah.
so it's like, it's fine. Obviously, the one that's kind of slipped the net is that Walking Dead single issue they did.
Which, I gotta tell you, I don't know if I ever publicly said this, but...
I think you have.
Well, I said it to you. I told you about it.
Okay.
But if I have publicly said it, I'm sorry, but I'm sure there's new people listening, so
There you go.
welcome to Contest of Challengers, a comics industry thing that we talk stuff with.
Elusive new listeners.
I approached Skybound directly for local comic shop day.
Under the auspices of your role as a board member for the...
No.
No?
Nope, just as a concerned fan.
Just as a retailer?
Yeah, okay. Just as a retailer. It was not... Because I'm not on a committee. I wasn't on a committee for that.
Okay.
So I didn't even use... Hey, this
That
is...
in?
I didn't reference Comics Pro at all.
You were just like, hey, as a retailer who participates in local comic shop day...
I had asked that they print that, because the way the story goes, for those who don't know, Brian K. Vaughan and Marcus Martin had an idea for a Walking Dead comic, and they went to Robert Kirkman and said, we really want to do this Walking Dead comic, can we do it?
4-Panel Syndicate, their online-only comics.
Yeah.
Which is where Private Eye was initially published. It was the pay-what-you-want digital-only platform.
So Robert Kirkman said, yeah, you can use Walking Dead for your platform if Image can publish Private Eye. Which is why there was the Private Eye graphic novel, because they never had any plans to collect it whatsoever, because it was made digitally for a digital audience.
About digital audiences. So, I mean, that was the perfect ecosystem for it to live in.
And I don't even know how they got to do Barrier. But I paid for that Walking Dead comic because I'm a big fan of those creators, and
I paid for
wanted
the
to read
first
it.
issue of Barrier.
Yeah, me too. And, I paid for the first issue of Private Eye. And I loved it. I love that Walking Dead story, and I think that we would sell a ton of it.
Sure.
Because it would be... Walking Dead fans aren't necessarily Saga fans, but this way we get them both.
Yeah, there's definitely an overlap, but it's not 100%. So yeah, we could definitely sell more than we would normally sell for Saga, and that's already... I mean, our Saga numbers are more than double our Walking Dead numbers now. So if we could add part of those Walking Dead numbers to our Saga numbers, that would be huge.
So it started a dialogue with Sean Mankiewicz, and he asked me questions about what we would want for local comic shop day.
Yeah, because local comic shop day, as I think we've spoken about in the post-mortem for that event in the past, tends to be a lot of like, here's a super scarce cover, or here's a reprint of a book that just came out with a slightly different cover, or here's a hardcover for a book that came out in softcover, and I'm sure there's an audience for that stuff, but we've never found success with any of it. So we've been looking for something
unique.
Yeah, something that's like, what would work for our audience? And the idea of a print version of a digital-only comic for local comic shop day is kind of the perfect thing. It's not something that's already existed in print form. It's not something that's going to, like, cannibalize another thing. It's already existed. Like, you could have already bought it digitally if you wanted to.
Sure. They wound up going in a different direction, of course. That's the way it usually works.
What did they even... Was it an Outcast hardcover? I can't remember what it was.
It was literally an Outcast hardcover.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Marvel's exclusive hardcover was?
Yeah, it was The Oath.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange The Oath.
Yeah.
It was the Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin Doctor Strange miniseries.
Guess who never knew that was a thing?
Brian K. Vaughan.
Brian K. Vaughan.
Does he need one?
No, he was at a store signing.
Good, because
somewhere.
We're sold out. He was at a California store for Free Comic Book Day.
And saw that for the first time and didn't know that it was a thing.
Can't even send him a copy?
Right. Hey, so we were just talking about the Comixology announcement today. And who was one of the people that was quoted most often? Your best friend?
Chip Mosier from
Where did
Comixology.
Chip Mosier used to work?
Was it Boom Studios?
Okay, first of all, I didn't hear the exclamation mark when you said that.
Boom Studios.
Thank you. Secondly, what a great segue. We got
You're
a
welcome.
package in the mail today from Boom Studios.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the exclamation mark.
Open your ears. It was there.
Do it again.
No, I'm going to cut it and edit and paste it.
Okay.
Here's the pasted version. Boom Studios.
Yeesh. People listen to this stuff in headphones. Man.
And
That's going to be
it
rough.
was, what? I just cut and pasted. The joke is I'm going to cut and paste that backwards, so that's the first one.
Right.
So you can say I didn't hear the exclamation mark, so you sound funnier.
Open your ears.
Because a package, a thing that I have never seen anybody do before, and I thought it was neat. And it also coincided with an email we got today. I don't think you get a lot of Boom emails.
There was one.
That said, hey, this isn't an FOC email.
Yep.
So we got a package today, a nicely printed box, a neat package, a for your consideration package.
Wow.
Of
So
samples
Hollywood.
of all of their Eisner contender and Eisner nominee
Los Angeles'
properties.
own Boom Studios.
Like again, this is a thing Hollywood does all the
Sure.
time, but I've never seen anybody do it.
The only time I've seen people do it is specifically for the Harvey Awards, and it was super tacky.
Yeah, but I mean, this is them sending to retailers, and like I've been seeing a lot more in my inbox of creators and publishers saying, "Hey, look at this book! Don't forget this book."
Yeah.
But this is them putting together a package. What is one of our newer taglines that we use?
Comics for everyone, every day.
The top of this Boom card. We believe comics are for anyone, so we make them for everyone.
Comics are for anyone, any day. God damn it. God damn you.
So I mean, they list their full nominees, and then they sent us samples of all this work.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and it was like there's nice black crepe paper lining the bottom. I mean, it was a neat
Have
package.
you voted in the Eisners yet?
I haven't, because
I
I
wonder
have.
if we can vote or each of us can vote.
I think it's just we.
Okay.
I mean, unless I try to use my poll as an anchor, which is how I always used to vote for the Harveys.
I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
Did they say when the voting is open until?
June 15th.
Okay, so we could probably do it Tuesday. Or Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most years, Dal and I would do this together.
Mm-hmm.
We
just
talk
haven't
over
in a while.
Yeah, but the last couple of years I just do it and then
Which is fine.
say whatever. But yeah, this is I liked it. I liked it.
It's very.
I didn't even
I
need.
hope all of those creators appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, most publishers would not do that.
I didn't even need the swag. We have most of the stuff in it.
You don't have to tell us about Grass Kings or Giant Days.
Right. But yeah, we got to. I don't feel that it's right to list off what they gave us, but
Sure.
And it's definitely not. It sounds pandering, but it's not. They're just saying, "Hey, look, here's the things that are nominated. Here's samples of them. If you're not familiar,
And I
take a
guarantee
look."
you there's
It's like
stories that are not
screener
familiar.
copies, man. It's like
Sure.
getting screener copies for the Oscars.
Yeah, if the Academy Awards didn't do that for Academy voters, if they didn't make the films nominated available for the Academy members, the only stuff that would win would be the stuff that was the most seen movies. Because otherwise it's like, how do I know what Moonlight's like? I didn't go to see Moonlight. Oh, wait, you sent me a screener copy. Moonlight's amazing.
Yeah.
That said, a lot of the Academy members don't look at screeners, but still, irrelevant.
Yeah,
At least they
screeners
do it.
Play an important role in.
At least they do it.
I thought this was neat. I appreciate it. I left the box intact for you to be able to see it before
man.
I did stuff with it. Terrible, terrible stuff. So those are the two note things I brought from the store. But I had to work Thursday because Kent is at 4 points in Brooklyn.
5 points.
5. No, I think they doled it down one.
They
night.
removed 1 point because
Yeah.
of controversy.
Well, I mean, just because Kent was there, because he might hurt himself on the 5th point.
Okay.
Kent and Josh are for Doomco are at 5 points, so I worked Thursday, and at numerous times during the day on the Thursday, and this is the thing you got to hear me complain about already. But did today ratchet it up a level.
Uh-oh. It always does.
We have a really good kids section, and we get a lot of families who come to the store.
We do.
And it's great to see kids engage and parents encourage reading. And there are many, many families that come in regularly and just experience comics through the store. And then you get the dads that come in with their kids who are only shopping for themselves, not for the kids,
Right.
don't pay attention to the kids.
Nope.
The kids are bored. The kids just literally run around and scream.
I'm going to go ahead and say most of the time it's little boys. They tend to be the most...
If it's not exclusive, but yeah.
If the kid who's being brought into the store is not engaged with what's in Sidekicks, the boys are going to be the ones that just cannot be controlled. The little girls usually find something to do in there, find something to read. The little boys are the ones who are just, they just terrorize.
So not only did that happen a bunch on Thursday, a guy first in today with his son, in for over 2 hours,
Golly.
kept telling his kid, go back in that room, go back in that room. Well, he looked around, and surprisingly, he did buy a graphic novel,
Okay.
which I thought he would buy nothing. But, whereas yesterday I had to keep telling this one young boy and girl, hey, that's not a toy. Hey, put that down. Hey, don't climb on those. Hey, don't do that. Hey, please stop that. And I was always trying to be loud enough so the dad would hear and care. Didn't care.
Nope.
Today, this kid is just running and screaming, and the dad didn't care. And then it comes up to the counter and wanted to ask both Donovan and my opinion. Because he's been telling his nephew that he should, rather than go to college, he should go play ball overseas.
Ooh.
He wanted to show us some video footage of this basketball player and have us say, yeah, he should go play overseas. To which Donovan excused herself immediately for the conversation. And I said, I don't think you should ever encourage someone not to go to college and go directly into sports.
Yeah.
Have something to fall back on.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't even need to see him play.
Hey, do you know...
his mom said this since college is interested. Okay, then A, go to the college. Don't go overseas.
Did he know that most colleges have a basketball program?
Yeah. And also, I don't want to talk about it at all.
Yeah.
How
is the comic shop a judge for how good your family member is at basketball?
And then he tried to segue into pro wrestling, and I'm just like, I'm not having it. 2 hours in the store.
2 whole hours.
2 hours.
That seems like a long time.
Oh, let me pick up all these almonds that your kid just dropped on the floor. I'm fine with that. Let me go pick up K2SO. I guess he was napping. And Donovan was great because the guy the kid kept putting his yellow sippy cup down, and Donovan kept saying, "Hey, don't forget the cups over there." Then they couldn't find it, and then the kid was playing with some of the Just Leaves figures, and she made sure as they were leaving that we got those figures back. Yeah. Parents, please rein your kids in. I know that you're there shopping for yourself, and honestly, this is going to sound terrible, but I would rather you watch your kid and not buy anything than buy one book and let the kid run around screaming.
I guess the key thing to remind parents is that when you bring a child into a store, they're still your responsibility. It's not the store's responsibility all of a sudden. That's not a service we offer. We are not licensed child care professionals. That's no.
Or how about when a parent and a kid come in, the parent immediately says to the kid, now don't touch anything because your hands are all sticky. Mm-hmm. That kid's touching everything.
Everything.
Like a kid, just by saying don't touch anything, they're going to touch it. But then, so I have to hear their hands are all sticky, oh great, I got to follow this kid.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, and it's going to get worse. And you know what I think we need to have, and I'm serious about this, we need to have an industrial garbage can that we put outside in front of the store or something. The number of half-finished Starbucks cold beverages that I've had to throw away in the last 2 days. It's insane.
They are increasing. It's true.
Do you have trash? Do you have trash? Do you have trash? Or the people that just put it on the counter, pick it up, put it on again. I'm like, you're leaving rings on the counter where people put their books. This is a store that sells paper. Please don't put it down or ask me for a paper towel or something. But yeah, just throwing away so many condensation-covered beverage cups. Yep. And it's only going to get worse.
Yep.
I feel like pulling out, we have the garbage and recycling, just pulling out one of them and putting it right there at all times. Jeez. Here it is. This is what we have to do. This is to sell comics, we have to be able to dispose of liquid waste. Oh, goodness. Goodness. It is good, though, since I said the word good, and
What's
I'm segueing.
Patrick?
Our Patreon patrons. Start of a new month now. It's June now.
It is.
And this is the point where we can thank all the patrons, more all the time. A couple of new $2 levels are sneaking in there, which is awesome. That means they believe in their heart of hearts that this podcast is worth 50 cents an episode. And we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I guess.
I mean, we'll argue.
Yeah.
We'll argue that down. That's why we have a dollar level.
Uh-huh.
No, that's not fair. But this is where we would like to thank all of the thank you level patrons, whether they want to hear their names or not. Like Jacob Sorelli, like Robert Lane, Morgan Perry from
Boom Studios.
All right, thanks. That's real good. George Brower, Artie White, Michael Romanenko, the entire Springham family who were in today and who have consistently well-behaved kids.
Yay.
Jose Villagomez, Thomas Nagovin from Century Guild, Mitchell Davies from All Star Comics in Australia, and I swear to God I almost just said All American Comics.
Whoops.
Which actually is a hell of a name for a foreign country comic store.
Agreed.
Yeah. And of course, Mike Lee. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
And if anybody else wants to be a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/challengers. Or you could, leave us a lovely review over at iTunes. I know it's a cliche to say you can rate, review, and subscribe, but you can. I mean, I imagine you're already subscribed because you're hearing this now.
Maybe.
But we can appreciate that. By the time this goes up, our Adventure Time event is already going to be over, but Donovan Challenger and I spent all day today...
Or will it?
Bum, bum, bum.
No, it will.
Donovan and I spent all day today setting up the artwork, and I had a different vision in mind than how it came together, but I'm really happy with how it looks. I mean, we have 107 different Adventure Time, I was going to say sketch covers, because it's Adventure Time number 36, which Boom did a sketch cover for the Hero Initiative to give out to people to make these covers. And these aren't just like quick marker sketches. These are all fully
illustrated
work
covers.
of art.
Yeah.
There is one that we are not displaying because the person who's, I can't remember the artist's name, they physically built it up so much they had to build its own little carrying container. Like it's got cut out cardboard, corrugated cardboard to go over it, and there's like indentations cut into where the physical things they glued on the cover go.
Wow.
And there are specific handling instructions for this book, which were written on each side of the top loader the book is in.
Okay.
So we can't display that top loader.
Uh-huh.
So I just, you know what? Not putting that one up.
Nope.
It's too much effort.
Nope.
There are some really great covers, and all of them have been collected into a graphic novel, an art book, really, called the Adventure Time 100 Project, which is a thing the Hero Initiative does regularly. And so we'll still have hardcovers and soft covers available. At the event, we would have had Gene Ha, who's going to be late, but will stay until you kick him out, he said.
Okay.
Jenny Frizen and Tim Seeley. We have 10 sketch covers for sale by Jeremy Brown. Why am I going into all this detail? This already happened.
Yeah, this is the thing that
event
already
is over.
happened. What we should mention, though, is that if you didn't make it to the event, we will still be selling copies of the Adventure Time 100 Project, which is a graphic novel available in both softcover and hardcover that goes to benefit the Hero Initiative, which is an incredibly worthwhile charity that benefits creators in need, basically. One of the sad things about the comics industry is that almost everyone on a creative level who works in it works on a contractor basis. They do not get benefits. They do not have retirement plans. And for a lot of the creators from the 70s and 80s, and now even into the 90s, there's folks that just are not prepared for not getting steady work. And things can happen to them, and things can befall them, and they will need help. And if you've ever enjoyed a comic book, there's a good chance the Hero Initiative is helping out creators that you like, and that you that might have been some of the first creators that you experienced when you read comics. So anything you can do to benefit the Hero Initiative is definitely worth it. And one way you can do that is picking up the Adventure Time 100 project.
Did you see the article about armed gunmen arrested at Stan Lee's house?
No.
Apparently, there were 2 armed gunmen who were arrested last night. Apparently, they came to Stan Lee's house on Wednesday, demanding money from him, and he was able to get away from them. And they came back the next day.
Wow.
And I guess they never called the police, and these guys got arrested.
Okay, that's terrible.
That's absolutely terrible.
You're terrorizing an old man.
This
a
is
very old man.
This man, just the worst keeps happening to him.
Yeah, it's very sad.
I don't know what we can do to let him live out the rest of his life being revered and, honored and also left alone.
Yeah, left alone would probably be the best part.
And, revered from a distance. From a distance.
Sure.
Hey, Dal, what do you think of the new
Sure.
Image Comics flavor?
I liked the first issue quite a bit. I like the world building. I like the art and the color. I had a really fun time with it. It's a very... They used Miyazaki a bunch when they were promoting the book.
it, yeah.
And it definitely has that sensibility
Which
to
they
it.
use for Isola as well.
They do. This definitely hews a little bit more to like a Kiki's Delivery Service, except for the last few pages.
Spirited Away is the really feel I got, too.
Yeah.
The really feel I got.
Really feel.
That's if we were doing episode titles just by dumb phrases, that would be it for this one.
Isola was way more Princess Mononoke to me.
Yeah,
It definitely
100%.
was that part of the Miyazaki canon. I like flavor, though. I am interested to see where the story goes. It has a very cutesy beginning and some fun stuff in the middle, but there's clearly some dark things happening.
Yeah, it gets more serious as we go on.
And the last few pages were definitely like, oh, I didn't realize that's where the story was going to go. That's okay. Let's follow that thread.
There have been several recent food and chef-related comics
Yeah.
that had come out. Like, I was a big fan of Starve from Image.
Star was great. Yeah, I can't really speak to the back matter and flavor, which they enlisted a renowned chef, but I'll be honest, food and food prep and cooking and restaurants, I don't care. So while I enjoyed the story and flavor, the back matter is something where I'm just like, all right, whatever. So if you are someone who is way more into all of the things that just blew right over my head, you'll love flavor. It's going to have a ton of stuff for you.
Or if you're a fan of James Beard award-winning chef and restaurateur, whose name I don't remember, from
But you remember James Beard?
Well, yeah, that's a prestigious award in the industry.
Okay.
And my friend Chris Olsen always goes to those award shows.
Okay.
Like in person when they're in Chicago.
Cool.
Fat Rice, when we did our Fat Rice event with, I had it and lost it.
Oops.
Oh, Adrian and obviously Sarah Beacon, who did the art for their book, and the chef whose name I don't remember.
I'm just going to go ahead and say pimento.
Because I said Adrian. Perfect. If you were a fan of the Fat Rice as a restaurant or as the cookbook they put out or that kind of thing, I think that flavors up your alley as well.
Cool.
But it is, if you recall from last week, there were books that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't remember.
Uh-huh.
That was one of them.
Flavor.
Literally, that's the only one I remember as well.
Uh-oh.
So I got that one. That's a
Hey,
good one.
we both read Man of Steel. We can talk about Man of Steel.
Oh, yeah, because after I've been talking about it for weeks, you finally read it.
You have, it's true. And I waited for the print edition because I have not liked the way DC does their review PDFs. I really enjoyed Man of Steel #1. And one of the main concerns I had about that book, I probably could have just, if I would have thought it through, would not have had that concern. The big concern I had was, I don't know if the marriage to Lois Lane and the son Jonathan are going to stick around, because it seemed like they were hinting in the direction of that not sticking around. And a new writer coming on and charting a new direction with a major franchise character like that usually wants to make a big change by getting rid of some stuff, by dialing it back to a different version of the character, or getting rid of some of the story elements that have accumulated over the last few years.
Or if they just don't have an end to that part of the storyline.
But one thing I forgot is Doomsday Clock takes place a year in DC's future, and the most recent issue of Doomsday Clock reminded me, hey, Superman's still married to Lois, and Jonathan Kent still exists. So I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, honestly,
or
I
at least
think,
not staying anywhere going.
The crux of that part of the story is what happened. Where is Lois?
Yeah, I think you're supposed to think that they're gone, but I don't think that they're gone. I think, I don't have that fear anymore. Partly because of Doomsday Clock, but partly because of it just doesn't seem like that's where he's going to go with it. Biggest thing I had against Man of Steel #1 is 2 to 3 pages by Jason Fabok. Not
Surprise.
my favorite artist at DC.
Surprise.
So that was a bit of a bummer to get to that part in the story and be like, oh, Jason Fabok.
Do you think DC missed out on potential sales for this book by making it a standard newspaper comic?
What do you mean?
I mean, no bells or whistles, no metal embossed cover because it's Man of Steel.
Possibly, but at the same time, if you're asking people to do 6 issues weekly at $3.99,
I mean, at least for #1.
I don't know.
I mean, just because they've done it so much recently and they've had a lot of success, like even Doomsday Clock has cardstock covers.
Sure, I think, you could maybe have done a cardstock cover, but then you got to charge $1 more, I think. So that's right there. I don't know if it's worth it for that. And I think when you start to do the bells and whistles stuff, the emboss, the foil, you have to do the final order cutoffs a little earlier.
Yeah.
And for something like this, I think that would have been difficult for them to get the sales numbers they wanted if they would have had to close them that far in advance. It's a little bit more of a gamble. So I think they were smart to do it the way they did it. And again, anything, if you're asking people to spend $24 in 6 weeks on one story, anything you can do to keep that price manageable, to not go over $24, I think everyone's going to appreciate it, even if they don't consciously realize what you're doing.
Well, since we're talking about big DC books from the week, what did you think of No Justice now that it's wrapped up?
It was okay.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it way more than Metal.
I had a real tough time, and this is a problem I had with Metal as well. And I think maybe a thing that Scott Snyder in general is just not my favorite writer at. I had a real tough time understanding all of the moving pieces in his ending.
Okay.
Like, just generally what the stakes were and what needed to happen and what the consequences were all things where I'm like, I don't know that I understand the premise of your story anymore. And Metal had that same thing where it's just like, once I got to the epilogue, I'm like, oh, okay, they won. But how they did it and what was happening is like, I don't get it. So yeah, No Justice, it was okay. As a 4-issue thing that got itself out in a month, it was fine. I like those characters, and I like some of the new concepts they introduced.
It was interesting to see such a build-up for, like, look at the people on Justice League now. Starro, Lobo, Lex Luthor. No, not anymore. It was just for the story.
Yeah, some of this stuff, like...
Some of them are the opposite now.
Yeah, well, obviously, like, Lex Luthor and Sinestro need to be there because they're going to be part of the new Injustice League. So Lex Luthor's experiences in No Justice will, inform on his decisions in Justice League 5 or 6 or whatever. But it was weird that they do these
the Sarah Kelly fill-in issue.
Yeah. When they do these last few pages, and they're like, hey, look at the cast of Justice League Dark and the cast of Justice League Odyssey, and then the cast of Justice League, and it's like, hey, Hawkgirl's there, and she wasn't in any of this story.
I know! There she is, like, not only that, but in that costume, when in Metal she wasn't dressed like that.
Did you guys want to maybe spend a panel, like, acknowledging this? No? We're moving on? Okay, great. Because, like, they didn't show the whole team of, like, Odyssey or Dark, but they showed the characters that were involved in No Justice who are parts of those teams. Like, for Justice League Dark, it's specifically Wonder Woman talking to Zatanna about why there needs to be a Justice League Dark. For Odyssey, it's Cyborg talking to Starfire about why there needs to be an Odyssey.
Yeah.
But then Justice League, it's just like, here's this team. Like, oh, Jon Stewart and Hawkgirl. Okay, what? Why are you here?
I had a conversation with a customer today or yesterday who was buying number 4, and it said he was current, but then said, I can't believe Starro's a member of the Justice League. And I said... Well,
briefly.
I assume you're current, but I can't say, so don't worry. That'll be resolved.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, without spoiling anything, I was really torn up by what happened to Starro.
I understand.
I know that you and I are split on that.
Yeah. And I was trying to remind everybody who's buying No Justice 4 that Justice League number 1 is next week.
Next week?
Like, hey, you got used to a weekly schedule. Here's the next one. Don't worry.
Good news.
Don't worry.
It doesn't have to stop.
According to sales numbers, Justice League number 1 is selling way better for DC than, or was ordered much higher than No Justice.
That's not a surprise.
But also, No Justice was ordered significantly higher than Man of Steel.
Weird.
And that Man of Steel came in at, and this is just what I've heard from people.
Our pre-order numbers for Man of Steel, I want to say, were at the same level, if not the exact same number as No Justice.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why the rack sales are going to be different.
Separate them, but I don't remember.
By those two titles. Like, nothing that I saw as far as sales velocity makes me think that we're going to sell less Man of Steel than we did No Justice.
It's still an exciting time. Marvel has announced a lot more open order variants for upcoming books, and they're sending out a couple of emails per day. Like today, we got to see a new Lionel Francis Yu cap cover and a Frank Miller cap cover.
Okay.
And who cares?
It's
who
just
cares?
more covers. We went in on all of the covers that we qualified for Amazing Spider-Man 800 because it was a big anniversary thing, and it was Amazing Spider-Man 800. And I'm not saying Captain America number 1 isn't a big deal, but number 1s happen way more often than number 800s, so I don't really feel like I want to do 9 or 10 covers for Captain America number 1. I just don't.
There's potential news for Captain America #1, but it's nothing I can share with an audience. I will share it with you.
I'll cover my ears.
But what I can share with an audience, and a few minutes ago, Dal mentioned the word Odyssey for Justice League Odyssey, and very often in my everyday life, any word can trigger a song memory. And I almost started singing the Kiss song Odyssey from Music from the Elder. But then I've also remembered that I'm really not supposed to put music in this anymore because we don't own the music.
Not unless you have the rights to it.
Well, guess what? I do have the rights to an entirely new Divorce Gun album, The Waning Days of the World, featuring Robert Burns from Zoo Story and Patrick Brower from Serpent Crown.
What the?
An actual
supergroup
CD that will be available on Friday, June 8th at Challengers. A fully professionally printed, released from a label, Whiplash Rumor Records. Not only that, it's going to be on every goddamn streaming platform. You can buy it on iTunes, you can buy it on Spotify, or I don't know, however these things work.
Well, you can listen to it on Spotify,
Okay.
I assume Apple Music.
Or other things. I'll have to get links for those from Bob when they're available. But yeah, we will have this album available in the store next Friday, and I think I will randomly pick a song from it to close out this podcast. So I'm going to say thanks for listening, and Dal's going to say...
And keep listening to the Divorce Gun.
Because here's some Divorce Gun.
You've done it again, and I follow every line. I want to pretend it doesn't hurt me every time. What does that say about me? Why do I always believe? Why can't this time be different? I always trust you, I shouldn't trust you. What do I mean to you when this is the norm? I thought it all was real, all it is just forlorn. What does that say about me? Why do I always believe? Why can't this time be different? I wanna trust you, why can't I trust you? Have I finally learned how to stop this bleeding heart? I think we both know that I've not. But do you really mean them? Did you ever mean them? Or am I finally set free? You were never meant to be mine. I tried too hard to change your mind. Can't stop this bleeding heart.
Just in case anybody's wondering, it's called The Divorce Gun, from a line out of a Larry Sanders episode.
Yep.
I could go into detail, but I'm not going to. They could just find all about it on facebook.com/ I don't know, Divorce Gun? Maybe that's what
Probably,
it's
or
called.
you could just maybe like Google it. Like Larry Sanders Show Divorce Gun.
Yeah, there you go.
And then there'll be like, I assume the Divorce Gun band will come up, and then like the Larry Sanders episode, or like a clip from it maybe on YouTube, or like something on
It was
Wikipedia.
like season 2, episode 19.
Wow.
I think. Well, I had to look it up one day. That's why I remember.
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's not ingrained from my head from
That
there.
would be impressive if it had.
Yeah.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook Follow @Challengers on Twitter and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.